Yeah, welcome back to the Creative J's podcast. I'm Jacasman Lewis. Today we have.
Javon and Joe.
Alright, so today we're gonna be discussing like a whole different amount of topics. But first off, we're gonna talk about like the attacks that have been happening on Asian people. So we're each gonna give our opinions about it. So like, Javon, why don't you go first? You seem to have like always these like cohesive ideas about it and shit. So.
I was gonna say, is it because I dated an Asian?
No, nigga. What? No, nigga.
Nah, I'm joking.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
I mean, what aspect are you curious about? I would say like definitely like it's wrong and it's not something new. There's just been
Of course not.
many events that helped exacerbate it, and I feel like now, the recent events that exacerbate it, the whole pandemic has really just drastically affected them. Like I don't think there's anything that's been this bad for the Asian community since maybe, I mean, what World War II or.
I think an obvious reason for it is because of the coronavirus.
No, I'm saying yeah, like that's the big reason I'm saying, but I don't think there's been anything that's affected them worse since World War II. Like the
Really?
like there were like things that cause racism towards the Asian community. I don't think there's been anything as big since World War II.
I would have to agree with
because when they had the Japanese internment camps, they weren't just going after only Japanese people. They were going after against Japanese Americans who were born here and other Asian cultures. But I would say between then, I don't think there's been anything as bad as COVID.
Honestly, I'm pretty much shocked as far as the.
What about the LA riots and shit like that? Because that really kind of worsened like relations between black people and Asian people as well.
Well, I mean, medicine society is also a thing.
Yeah,
that helped that. But I'm saying like all.
You mean like
I'm saying like
globally,
like medicine society in LA riots. That was more like Koreans and black. I'm
Okay,
saying all Asians and across the whole country.
Okay.
Ever since the World War II, I would say I don't know if I can think of anything bigger.
Yeah, I feel you.
I actually the only thing would be like how some people see Asians as like submissive, innocent people, like that whole sex work thing that was done in I think the Vietnam War when the soldiers would go to Vietnam. Maybe that other but I don't really know if that's like Asian hate in the U.S. more than it was like our soldiers in Vietnam. So I would say like this is probably the biggest since World War II.
Yeah, on a global scale, I feel you.
Yeah, for me personally, I agree. Like I don't think like since I've never honestly since I've been alive heard of like events that Asian people went through a huge amount of injustice. Like so that's why this caught me off guard. Like a racially motivated basically terrorist attack against Asians. Like I've never heard of that happened before. And since like that the attack that happened with Pearl Harbor in World War II, that was
technically Japanese attacking us.
That's more like
unwarranted though.
That was more like retaliation. That was different, but like just unprovoked like hatred.
Oh, so you're saying like just large scale news across the country? This is like the biggest thing.
Yeah, like I've never heard of just like Asian hate like in America. Like this is like I've heard of the Hispanic. They going through the things
that is
they
true.
Went through.
A lot of Asians are talking about how in the Asian community, like, a lot of elders they're very private about like things like bad things that happen to them with other communities, and like now it's becoming more vocal and larger outcries. So I will say like that is kind of true.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. For me, it caught me kind of off guard. I think what's more concerning to me is the responses a lot of people have been getting. As far as like black people, especially like black people, we know what we go through. Like we know what we face. We know like the things that we encounter. But like for black people to sit up and say like to have like a disregard towards them.
Yeah, that's what
that kind of disgusts me.
You mean recently?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get into.
I haven't been on Twitter, so like I don't really know what has been said.
Because some people are saying that how come we have to like care about their issues, but they don't care about ours. So it's like people have different opinions about what they're going through.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: a lot of things that people think are like wrong with like our society and all that, they really just be perpetuating that shit from like Twitter from like 50 people. I'm like, damn, bro, I know 50 people representing all of
the entire
us because if you look at all the Black Lives Matter protests, you can't name one minority ethnicity that wasn't there, and you can't say that they weren't in proportionally significant numbers, right? You'd be like, oh, Asians don't really support black people. There were a lot of Asians at the protest in like almost every country. I mean, not country, state.
I agree with that. No, but like even around the world, they have Black Lives Matter protests around the world.
You know, but I was saying like Asians being a part of.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, I mean, like China's like massively just gonna be a bunch of Chinese people.
Yeah, no,
so
of course.
I'm saying like here.
Yes, I get you. So like, I understand that you each have like your opinions about it. So I guess I wanted to get into like, do you agree with people who say that our struggle is separate from theirs, or do you believe that we each should care about each other's struggles and try to like help each other out?
Well, our struggle is definitely different. So I'm gonna start right there. I don't compare myself as an African American struggle to any other set race of struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously, like me as an African American, our history is a little different than every other race's.
Of course.
So you can't put us against another race and say, well, yeah, y'all are experiencing injustice, so it's kind of the same. No, not really. Like it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
But the outcome and the effect is the same.
Okay.
So like how we feel about it is the same. So yeah, you're right. We should come together and still help each other, no matter what like race is feeling what they're feeling. Because like how we feel about it is still gonna be the same. But I don't like the comparing. Like, oh well, we do this and we go through this or we go through this. No, dude, our struggle is not your struggle.
I fuck with that. People always, like some people like make it out seem like we're trying to do like a discrimination Olympics of like who gets hurt more.
Right.
Yeah.
Like come on now. Like that's not what we're here for.
I agree with that.
It's not a competition, bro. Like we just.
Of course, it's not a competition.
I feel like all of us. Like I feel like most people who are like clear-minded, like us. I guess you could say us. We're all like, all right. We all have our own individual struggles, but other people do too, and they're not something that should be neglected. It's sort of like it's like the white supremacy thing. That shit affects all of us.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we should all, if we just try to like be on our own lane, that shit's not gonna work out well because each minority population is kind of too small to be tackling on such a huge thing.
Right.
And, another thing is like, I wouldn't say it's like an issue. Kind of is, but it's like the wealthy Asian American. Everybody's like, well, Asians are they rich. Why can't you do it? Or when you have like those few black rich people, Kanye, Tyler Perry, Michael Jordan. I mean, who else is really gonna be naming more iconic status than that? Oh yeah, Jay-Z. Everybody's like, why can't you be like them? It's like,
Oprah.
Like, and then I forgot about Oprah. I was thinking, dude. And then everybody's like, well, it's like poor Asians and poor African Americans. They're like, well, why can't you guys do what the wealthier ones do? It's like that's a thing that hurts us because it's like the wealthiest black men and like I'd say like 20% of like the lower income black people, and same thing with Asians. It's a huge fucking gap.
Right.
But people never like acknowledge that kind of thing, and like I feel like recognizing those things will definitely help out.
I agree with that. So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like racial issues like plague all minorities, but it's like the way that people try to compare the two is like different because of historical context. So like obviously when it comes to like African Americans, we like our ancestors experienced slavery, and then there's Asian people who experienced discrimination and like things like that. But I understand what you're saying when you're saying it's like when you try to compare the two, it becomes ridiculous because our level of struggle is different.
Right.
I understand that.